My first book had just come out, and I was invited to do a book signing at what is probably the most prestigious design conference in the country. I was mindful of how lucky I was. The night before the signing, they had a VIP dinner, and seated on my left was a guy by the name of Steph Sagmeister. I don't know how many of y'all know him, but that year, Steph was the it boy in the design world. Just like Hollywood has an it boy and an it girl, he was it. Tall, good-looking, dressed in all black, and because he was German, he spoke English better than I do, and had enough accent just to be charming. On the other side was my beautiful wife, and next to Gloria was the chief marketing officer of a major US corporation that has built its reputation on design. It was a client I lusted after. As I said, I was mindful of how lucky I was. So the next morning I got up to go to the signing. My 6-year-old daughter, Aliana, asked if she could come with me. We went down, the elevator doors opened, and Allie and I walked out hand in hand to find a hallway full of people. They were all in line, waiting to get into the book signing. Allie asked me, "Daddy, are all these people here for your book?" And not wanting to act quite as full of myself as I felt, and realizing it was a teaching moment, I said, "No, sweetheart, I'm sure a lot of them are here for Steph's book too." So we went into the main room, and the line went all the way around the booth, and we followed the line all the way. We walked around the booths. There were the 2 tables for the book signing, but what we found was every person in line was in Steph's line. Sure, you'll laugh now. There wasn't a single person in my line. I didn't think I could feel much worse than I did at that moment, but we sat down. Allie busied herself with drawing with all the Sharpies that I had to sign all those books, and I started doing the Vulcan mind meld, trying to will people into my line. When all of a sudden, Allie decided to take matters into her own hands. She jumped up, went under the table, past the curtains, and popped out and tried to drag people into my line, saying, "Come look at my daddy's book. It's really good." Now I was sure I couldn't feel any worse. I was wrong, because just then, my wife comes walking up with the marketing officer from that corporation. She had run into him at breakfast and told him, "Why don't you come with me and come see my brilliant superstar designer husband? I bet I could get you a free book, and I bet you won't have to wait in line." By the way, at this point, Steph had sold all his books. He was shaking hands, grinning, and taking pictures. It was a real road to Damascus moment for me, because what I realized was nobody had seen my book and nobody had seen his book. They hadn't been released. Why did his sell and mine didn't? And I spent the next days, weeks, years figuring it out. And because of what I learned, we have built powerful, compelling brands for our clients, because you see, it's the brand they were buying, not the book. Now, before you think about the usual that a brand, it's a logo, it's a trademark, it's none of those things. A brand is what people think about you when you're not around. And a brand is why they buy what you're selling, hire your service, or agree to your argument. Brands are just as important for first-time job seekers or lawyers in litigation as they are for multinational corporations. So the question becomes then, how do you build a powerful brand so you can accomplish what you want?